Welcome to another episode from The Watch Advocate. Do you feel that? That's the weekend. Sit back, relax. Let's talk about some watches. Today's going to be a fun episode. It's going to be great. Going to be talking about, I guess maybe a little bit of the news, see what's happening in the world around us this week. Maybe talking a little bit about creating your own watch collection, and then I'll just kind of go over my watches a little bit. Just to kind of go over essentially what you should, what you shouldn't, how you can find the different watches that are out there, especially if you're kind of new into the hobby. Goodness gracious, there's so much to learn. This is one of the most in-depth I'm going to call it a hobby. It's one of the most in-depth hobbies and topics that are out there. Watch collecting and just enjoying watches, watch wearing. I don't like to think of myself as a collector. If I'm not going to wear it, I don't want it. I don't have things that sit in a safety deposit box. Just hoping that they appreciate. And that brings us into our first topic in the news, and that is the Rolex crash in the market. No, it is not just Rolex that's crashing. It's most of the top brands that are out there. It's your top 60 watches that always seem to be appreciating so far above what they are. And they're basically essentially a watch bubble. And as the market does what it does, and I am not giving legal and or financial advice in any way, shape, or form, go talk to your financial advisor, talk to your lawyer, because I am not here to help you. I'm just giving a regular guy's opinion on this. Doesn't matter what my background is. Now, I would have to say the market is basically crashing. That's kind of sad. It seems like it's going to be going much further down. That's just a guess, not advice. And as you can tell, Rolex prices are finally starting to crash. AP, your special Royal Oaks are starting to crash. Just a lot of stuff that's out there. The ridiculous bubble. I mean, goodness gracious, your $40,000 like Rolex Daytona that does not cost that much by any means is finally starting to go down. It's about bloody time. None of these watches are worth what they are, and they're all just being controlled by the demand of Rolex. They're just, they're messing with the supply. They only let so many out. Do I think that's a problem? No, that's why they have Tudor. They will always work hand in hand. They will always work in tandem, and I do not disagree with what they're doing. If I was in the business that they're in, I wouldn't change a darn thing. They are succeeding incredibly well. They are sold out way, way, way into the future. So until they actually need some more cash flow rolling in that way, they are doing the right thing for them, and that's not the right thing for me. So, let's jump on to something a little more fun, and that was the release of Bamford's G-Shock. Oh my gosh. Love it. I love the Bamford collections. That blue that he uses and always the stealthy black. It's just, that really works for me. Today I'm wearing my own G-Shock Casio All Steel in gray, which I think was supposed to be stealth black, but it's gray. I don't have a problem with that. I really do enjoy it. I wish it was maybe a little more titanium looking, but to each their own. Really a fantastic watch. But let's get back to the Bamford. The Bamford release was a nightmare. And I know it was a nightmare for Bamford because he had his whole family at the shop. They had to shut it down because it was just getting too wild and rowdy. He was trying to sign things, and it was mostly scalpers. It was not like true Bamford fans, which was really unfortunate. Scalpers signed up or showed up in line to get the Bamford watch way ahead of time. Then the online release was just a nightmare. It was mostly just bots and scalpers yet again, going way past the limit of what you're supposed to be able to get. And think of the moon swatch insanity at the swatch stores. Basically, the same thing happened, and the police ended up shutting it down, which is really unfortunate. What a release for a G-Shock. All for a G-Shock. I really wanted one of these. I did not get one on release, and then I just saw them instantly on eBay flipping for 4 and 5 and 6 times the amount of money. And then you don't even know if they're really real at that point too, which is the sad part of it. So that's what happened in the news recently. It's it is August. It's the end of August 12th. So it's the end of Friday here. We're calling it the weekend on my end. I'm calling it for the day. That's why it's just chilling with a watch time right now. That I know that happened a little while ago, but I just had to mention it. It's kind of unfortunate that these releases of, let's just face it, inexpensive watches, love G-Shock, love the Moon Swatch sort of, you could ever get it for the actual retail price, or actually get it at all. Thanks, Swatch. I'm not going to blame Omega. Omega did exactly what it needed to get the marketing that it did, and its sales took off. So, from a business standpoint, Omega doesn't give an F, and they are succeeding incredibly well with their sales currently. It was the best marketing they ever could have done for their company. So, and it was at a very low cost, and it really just solidified their foothold in the watch market for the next decade and probably the next generation, essentially. So, good on them. Good on them for doing it. But anyway, crazy releases, man, just absolute nightmares. People think that the appreciation in these things can go up incredibly well, and yes, you can succeed in flipping, and that's why I'm kind of happy for this crash. It's going to maybe crush this bubble, probably destroy a bunch of flippers' careers, but let's face it, watch flipping sucks. The gray market flippers too. You guys suck. You know it. You're just essentially destroying prices and inflating things for those of us that really enjoy it. So anyway, this is going to be great. The market will be fantastic once a lot of those people are out of it, and a lot of the bubbles pop because people go broke and they'll actually start selling them for what they should be sold for to start with. Not saying flipping is bad. We've all been there in our younger days, but welcome to the real world. It's boring. Nothing luxury about it. It's kind of just sad. And now let's move on to a little happier topic, and that's trying to find your own collection in this world. As I have seen, a lot of people have no idea what's really out there in the watch world when they start off, and it takes years to just get a slight grasp of truly what brands have to offer. And I think in truth, until you actually see them in person, you can research a lot. You can read tons of articles, reviews, and blogs to kind of figure out what brands are what you really do like aesthetically. And then when you go and see them in person, you can either be heartbroken or really excited about it. And I'd say Breitling for me is a brand that I generally did not like that much on paper, but when I saw them in person under the nice flashy perfect lighting that the watch stores do and your jewelry stores bring out, they look really good. They look really good in person. The legibility on them is just absolutely fantastic. And some of the things that I thought were maybe even a little gaudy online just kind of disappear when you actually look at them in person. So personal taste there. I still don't even have a Breitling. But they were one of the biggest shockers for me as far as just really enjoying what's out there. And I will say, hey, if you're new to the watch world, hey, congrats. If you got your first watch, awesome. Fantastic. There's so much out there to be excited for. I would say some of the best ways that I have learned about watches have been just watching YouTubers go through their top 5 lists, their top 10 lists, their watch collection, the top 3 watches every collector should have. Moved out to like 3, their perfect 6 watch or 12 watch collection. Those are great ways to get an idea of what's out there and to get a pretty brief overview, because they're not like an in-depth review of a singular watch. And you don't want to waste like 40 minutes on just one watch, especially if you're not going to like it, or 20 minutes depending on the review. I think checking out those types of videos and those types of blogs are really, really good. A lot of channels out there will kind of create personas to think like of who you might be, what you might be interested in. And every year or two, they'll throw up their own version of what's new in that sort of genre. And I think that's a really great way to just know what is available in those genres that's out there. Now, you'll miss a ton. There's still just too many watches for all the reviewers to truly go over and hit, especially since a lot of them aren't that popular, and there's so many micro brands out there. Now, there are some reviewers that just specifically go over micro brands, which I think is cool. I used to be all gung-ho. I still think for like let's go with $300 to $2,000 range, you can probably get some of the best bang for buck in a micro brand, but you won't get any brand recognition from it. And I would say generally in my mind, that doesn't really matter that much. Brand recognition is just kind of like, I love it and hate it at the same time. It's a little just, elitist, I guess. But in some cases, if you're going to spend that much money, daggone it, you want the elitism. I don't know, that's just selfish talk, but that's how we all think. Truth is, even if you really just kind of despise some of the brands that are out there for what they've become, what people know them for. You still respect them. And in some cases, your dislike is really just jealousy and or the fact that you can't afford them. And no, I'm not like trying to point fingers at anyone. We all kind of feel this. It's just human nature in some cases. So don't necessarily, I don't know, I don't love microbrands as much as I used to. There are some that I still adore. I still adore Ocean Crawler, and for the life of me, I just like that it's made in New York. I don't even like New York as a state. Goodness, don't even get me started there. But as far, I'd never want to visit New York again for work or anything, but who knows, I'll probably have to. But the fact that it's made in America, they're assembled in America, I think that's really cool. That's what I love about that brand, and that they are basically like the mechanical G-Shock. They can take like half, wow, I'm saying like a teenage girl from 1990 right now. But essentially, I enjoy the fact that those watches are very tough. They're mechanical, and that they generally are great divers. They're big, they're beefy. I love them on my wrist. One of these podcasts, I'll wear one, and that'll be the front picture. But I guess today it's the G-Shock today, so it is what it is. I just love wearing this watch around. But anyway, microbrands, I do enjoy them. I think there's incredible offers out there. They really are the best bang for buck. You can get Swiss movements, American assembled if you like, Swiss assembled if you like. And you can have pretty much the best of the best for, half the price of what a real brand name will give you, because you're paying for a brand name. It just is what it is. I mean, there's Islander watches out there that are fantastic for the money. They're kind of like the Seiko comparison. And the truth is that they are basically just not, they're basically Seikos, essentially. They're not. They're completely different, but for the most part, in my mind, that's what I think of when you put those two together. It's possible even just for saying that in there, YouTube might come after me, but that's the truth. This is what we're all thinking. That's how it really is. And thank goodness this is the podcast, and YouTube won't come after me. Not on the podcast side. So there you go. If YouTube disappears, join me at The Watch Advocate on your local podcasting place, wherever you like to listen to them. I should be there. And after that caveat, I guess I should say like, subscribe. I always have the website pretty much in every one of my areas and social media to check out. It is filled with just some of my favorite watches, and there's affiliate links on there to Amazon. If you click them, it helps out the channel. If you buy anything else on there, it helps out the channel. It doesn't really matter. Click it before you go shopping. I will appreciate it. It'll help me make some more hopefully some better quality podcasts and videos in the future here. So, anyway, after that, I would say, when it comes to also checking out those lists, don't try to categorize yourself in them too much. I don't really fit any of the personas that are mostly out there. My collection's a little interesting. It's lots of dive watches and G-Shocks, essentially. That's the aesthetic that I really like. I like most of my stuff to be able to do some work, look really good at the same time. I do a lot of fishing, a lot of outdoor stuff. I'm fishing at least once or twice a week. Hop out the backyard, catch some bass, and that means most of my watches need to be waterproof. And not just like rinse proof. They need to be able to be dunked in the water, slapped by a bass, something like that. I know it sounds ridiculous, especially if you're a very posh individual, but some of us really do enjoy the outdoors, and that's how we find peace during the day. We're at the end of a crazy week, so that's just me. It's what I enjoy doing. If I'm going to be out hiking or trail jogging, I also want to be able to have my watch go through a downpour, because you know what? Sometimes the most fun is jogging in the rain, and especially when you're out in trails, it gets a little muddy, it gets a little crazy. Oh, it's so much fun. It's just a great time, and you might think I'm absolutely crazy for that, but hey, we all enjoy what we enjoy, so I want my watch to be able to handle it, to be able to handle me falling down, slipping, hitting a root or a tree out there, catching myself on a tree and not breaking. That's important to me as well. And yes, most of the time I am wearing just a G-Shock and they'll handle it. But if I forget and I've got my mechanical watch on, just didn't notice, like halfway out there, and you're like, okay, well, I've got my Omega Seamaster on. Let's hope it's fine. It will be fine. It's a tough watch. I absolutely love that. man, it's just there it is, off on another tangent here. But yeah, so my collection is, I think it's unique to me, and each of my dive watches represents a different thing that I'd like to do with it, or a different memory, and I just kind of try and recreate it with that watch in different ways, and bring it along and have the one wonderful sentimental value with it, and bring more sentimental value with it. So. Anyway, that's really it. I didn't want to get too in depth. I think everybody should follow your own path. If you love field watches, great. If you love dress watches and that's it, and then field watches maybe a little bit, great. Don't try and fall into what somebody else likes, because in truth, if you don't love the watch you're really wanting to pick up next, and I mean it, you won't keep it around, and you'll just end up losing money. And I would say it's great to think you can flip stuff and make money. The reality is almost every time you will lose, unless you're incredibly clever, or you hoodwink somebody, or you follow one of the bubbles. Yeah. You can make some money if you want to, go for it, be that guy. But I don't like to bring that into my hobby. I like to just have fun, enjoy what I enjoy. And I'm really just saying don't fall into other people's categories, because if you don't love it and you just kind of like it, and you're like, oh, that's a really great looking watch, and you pick it up kind of on a whim instead of really taking the time to explore it, to get into the history. And a lot of people will say, get into the history of the watch. There might be different versions that you actually like better. And if you just, pick it up just after you look at it, you may end up kind of being a little disappointed when there might have been something better out there. And the more you look into it, you may find what it was based off of. Nothing's really that new that's out there. Most of these designs have been done before. That's just like a lot of the other, most of the world, most of the products. Nothing's really truly that new. It's based off of something, and it's cool to find the design sometimes. And sometimes that's even great, that it is based off of something historical. And I really do just suggest you taking time to learn the history about these different watches. And some people may think, I hate history. I hate reading all that stuff. Yeah, well, then just think of it like this. It's more of just like a time break, so that you really decide in your mind, do I like it or do I love it? And then if it takes a day or two for you to start researching to do that, you can usually come to that conclusion whether you like it or love it. And I would even suggest taking a week or 2 or 3. Most watches are not going to disappear overnight unless it's a drop of some sort and they are incredibly in demand. But for the most part, I think you should take your time. Make sure it really is what you want. There isn't something out there that you would have found that you would like better if you just would have looked just a little bit more into it. So that's kind of my advice, trying to help your pocketbook out, help my own pocketbook out, take my own advice. That always helps when you give advice and you don't take it, and you look like a fool on all ends there. But let's face it, we've all been there probably. Hopefully not as much as others. So either way, that's all for today. I think I'm gonna go kick back, enjoy a little whiskey, and just rock the rest of this fantastic summer weekend. Yet again, like, subscribe if you like the content here. Check out the website. Check out some of my favorite picks on watches out there. It'll get better. I'll get some blogs on there. It should be a lot more fun in the future. And hopefully design will get a lot better too. But either way, thanks for hanging out. It's been a fantastic time, and I will catch you next week.